Welcome back to a special feature of the Jackrabbit Illustrated podcast. We're excited to have you join us here today. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank our sponsors who help make this possible.
Well, here we are.
Well, I did not touch anything.
Surprise! Someone touched something. So, Jake's the new guy here. Let's blame Jake on this one. So, welcome back, everyone. It is finally the A team here with you tonight for our game week. We are here. We made it. It has been a long time since Frisco, and we made it back. But before we get into it, we need to thank our title sponsor, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. 10 locations all across the state, and even one in Iowa. I always talk about my machine, how much I love it. The BX 2680 for me. I have a small acreage, gets the yard work done, moves snow for me. That front attached snow blower was pretty sweet for the limited amount of snow that we got last year. Sounded like a rougher winter this year. So stop into the Kubota dealer nearest you and get one picked out for your needs, whether that is your business, your farm, your ranch, your acreage, or just your house in town, or if you're just looking for something kind of fun. So stop into Kubota and they'll help you out. Thank you guys for your partnership here. And our show sponsorship is Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. Jake, we ask everyone that comes on the show, what is your Culver's order?
It's got to be the double. What are they called? The burgers.
Butterburger.
Butterburgers. Gosh, I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. Man, my daughters are big Culver's fans, so we get there a lot with that too. So it's good.
All right, good. So we talk a lot about the cement mixers, the Scoopy tokens, the Curter burger. We do that. Dallas introduced us to that a handful of years ago, and then they actually brought it back, which we'll take credit for. So. So anyways, Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, stop in before a game, after a game. If you don't have time for a sit-down meal and you want to get on the road or get in a little late, that's the place to go, is Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. Thank you, guys. All right, and without further ado, Dallas, how the heck you doing? You just wrapped up a good show over there. So
I'm good. Did you get a chance to watch much of it?
No, I've been running around chasing kids.
No, that's fair. I really wish that I would have had more time to talk to Justin. That was awesome. So if anybody did not catch that's watching now, had Justin Southwell with Believe in OK State. They do a podcast. I've watched a lot and listened to a lot of content over the last month or so, and they're a good one. I'm actually going to be on their show here on Tuesday. Talk about the game coming up. But no, it was awesome. Got some great insights on a team, a senior-laden team with a ton of returning starters. Sounds very familiar, and they are playoff bound in their mind for sure.
Mm-hmm. Chad, how have you been, man?
Doing well. Just trying to get things done up on the computer here most of the day. The 2680s running well. I got one of those too. It's a great machine. The guy from OK State was very good to talk to and had a pretty good knowledge of our squad as well. So true professional there, and good to talk to him. It was too bad we didn't have a little bit more time, I think.
Okay.
Can hold on. Can we take a time out and just have a Chad appreciation moment for everything that he does? I mean, he kind of glossed over it, but the amount of time. And I know,
no, we don't need to do this.
No, yes, amount baloney. No, and I would have swore, but Matt's here. The amount of time that he spends on putting stuff together. He's on every single show. He does the intros. He does the graphics that go with the podcast. This is not a small thing, and we are spoiled to have you, Chad. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I don't add much to the overall discourse, so got to bring something.
So, Dallas, everything you just listed there, Sam can use against him later on, probably.
Yeah,
Your Honor, I'd like to exhibit into evidence.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite a few weeks before we have some serious talks again, because I'll be doing 3 or 4 podcasts a week. So
there we go. All right, and the newest member of the team, former player Jake Steffen. So, Jake, welcome to the team.
Welcome.
All right, so Jake, since you left Brookings, what have you been doing? Where you been? Where you at?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. This is exciting. I Probably here for the same reason everybody is, right? Supporting South Dakota State. It's a great place, big impact on a lot of people, and I think that's something like the Jackrabbit Illustrated can bring kind of exposure to and kind of shine that light a little bit. That is exciting to do in that regard. So, I've played from 2007 to 2011 was my last year, and they've made the playoffs every year since. So I think there's maybe a statement there. Maybe maybe we learned something. But after that, spent some time in Sioux Falls working at Sanford Health, and then my wife and I actually relocated to Lincoln, Nebraska, the last 4 years. Kind of a change in career for her. So then we wanted to get back to South Dakota, and I said, what better place to move than good old Brookings? So we just moved to Brookings in May. Really excited to be back. Really, really pumped to be around SCSU, everything we do, running into some former players, former administration, obviously the coaches. We do a lot of good stuff with our JFPA, the Former Players Association. So again, just really excited to be here and just support South Dakota State. Again, the same thing that we're all here for. They've had a big impact on a lot of people, and this is something special. So thanks for having me, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Adding Jake as a former defensive lineman, I think we need to market us as the tallest podcast in the country.
There you go.
Right? There we go.
We have to be across the board.
Well, some of these NBA ones, man, though, they got to speed.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I might be the shortest member on the team too.
So Jake's being modest. His career, excellent career, 4 years, impactful years, 118 total tackles, 10 sacks, 2 interceptions. How did you have 2 interceptions your sophomore year and then, didn't sniff another one after that? What happened?
Yeah, it was like this 2-game stint. It was really weird. It was the end of the first half at Illinois State, my sophomore year. We dropped into like a blitz coverage at the D end. Like, you don't do that. And, the other side of me is this All-American NFL future star, Danny Batten, who was just furious that I, snagged this pick on like a Hail Mary. And then the other one was actually only 2 games later. It was against Northern Iowa, Hobo Day, in 2009. Yeah, Hobo Day and tip ball. I mean, it was the lucky tip ball defensive lineman. Nice. I was a quarterback in high school actually, and so I was ready to run. And I think the other guys on the D line tackled me because they're like, "No, dude, we don't want you to run at all. Like, we're gonna just stop." But I was like, "Man, I had that." But
nice.
So lucky with 2 picks. It was probably one of those things that not a lot of people can go away as a defensive end with 2 picks. But
yeah, did you snag that one from Paul Grace? Right? Was that the UNI quarterback at the time? Right?
Fat Pat is what we called him.
Pat, yeah, right.
That is what we called him. We cheered that in the stands. My former roommate had transferred schools himself from UNI to South Dakota State, and he knew Fat Pat because he was down there before. So he started to cheer every time he came on the field. Did you play then? Did you play then when we got robbed at Nebraska, right?
Yeah, that was my junior year.
So what was that like, living in enemy territory, knowing that you had beat those guys and got robbed?
No, it was. I always say that game was so cool just because, it was one of those teams for them. That was Taylor Martinez's year. They had obviously some big dudes. I was a DN going against Ben Cotton, future NFL guy. Tackling Rex Burke had some of those kind of experiences, but we came up right against them. Played really well. Kind of had some good options to stop their midline option that they did with Martinez. So, it was kind of fun because a lot of people, when I said that, when I lived in Nebraska, those 4 years, I lived down in Lincoln, and, eventually the stories would come out that, oh, you played at SCSU. Like, man, you guys almost beat us. You should have beat us. I mean, there's a lot of guys down there that said that.
You did beat.
So yeah, it was kind of cool.
Awesome. Did you play? I'll bring this up later. I was going to bring this up later, but did you play in any other FBS games besides that one against Nebraska?
Yeah, so obviously we had
Iowa State. No,
Iowa State was my freshman year.
Right?
Minnesota and Illinois.
We don't have to talk about Illinois. I went to
Illinois.
That was oof.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
One of the most rugged ones we've had.
That might have been the maddest I've ever seen Stig at halftime. Was Illinois, which it takes. Him getting mad is a different level. So
he gets all flustered.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas. When you in 2005, right? That was your last year, Dallas.
4.
was it all D2 schools then, or were you guys transitioning at that point?
My last year was still all Division II schools. We did
Okay.
not have any transition.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good. I've always wanted to ask you that.
No, it was the class behind me that did.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, Jake, thank you. Welcome to the pod. We're excited to have you. So, yeah. Dallas and Chad, just want to give us your general impressions over your conversation with the Believe in OK State guy.
Sure.
Kind of overall, what did he share that, you were excited to know or found interesting?
Kind of like an FBS version of our team when it comes to our team from last year when it comes to depth. I think that's one of my general takeaways, even though I'd kind of known that reading up on them, but that was one of my major takeaways. How about you, Dallas?
Yeah, it's a very experienced team. I think 20 returning starters, added a little bit in the portal. Biggest name, they didn't need to add much in the portal, but the biggest name is their backup running back, their number 2 running back, Trent Howland, who was a monster at Indiana last year. So, you've got this fantastic running game. They also think they're extremely deep at wide receiver. Question mark, if you want to call it that, maybe at quarterback. Very experienced, a 7th-year player. Don't ask me how, but he has been everywhere. So very obviously mature, experienced, and now he's had a full year in the system. And then if you look at the last year, so you look at their team last year, they lost to South Alabama, which was a very low point for them, really caught them off guard. They were also going through this transition where they'd hit the portal real hard. And I've read this places, and I'm glad Justin mentioned it, that their coach, that Gundy kind of promised a bunch of guys that they would play, and maybe they should not have been playing is kind of the narrative. So, they struggled early in the year with some rotations that maybe shouldn't have been there, buttoned that up, and then essentially turned around and scored 40 points a game the rest of the way. They had one hiccup after the Bedlam game with Oklahoma. They lost and really struggled at Central. Is it UCF? Who was it?
Yeah, I think that's what
was it UCF? It was a Florida team. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on who it is. I think they only scored 3 points. Right. Yeah, but they scored 40 plus every other game the back 2/3 of the season. So they can control the ball, they can put up yards. Ollie Gordon is an absolute man-child. If everybody hasn't heard that name yet, pay attention because he's extremely good. He didn't have any real insights on the alleged injury. I know I texted you guys when I saw it. There was this bizarre Twitter freak out where everybody thought his leg fell off essentially in practice or something, and then it turned out he was actually fine, and he's going to probably play the whole game. But again, a backup running back that is like 6'3", 245 or something, just a complete freak of nature. So they're going to pound the ball. They're going to control it there. On the defensive side of the ball, their highlight is they've got 3 All-American caliber linebackers and a very, very deep defensive line. They talk about, basically doing hockey line changes like we're used to at South Dakota State with their defensive line. So they're going to rotate 2 to 3 deep all the way through the game, all the way through the season on the line. Biggest question marks that he talked about were they were ranked in total defense like 115th or something. Don't quote me on it, but way down FBS. Like their defense struggled. Now Justin's take on it was that it was big plays, and if you just limit a few of those, then they're way better, which, okay, sure, but it still happened, and it happened for a reason. And I guess Chad asked a great question about whether it was talent or schematically, because you've got a team that they're returning everybody from that same team last year. So is that good or is that bad getting him back? And I'm trying to remember, Chad, did he think it was a schematic thing, or did he think it was maybe a talent issue?
Yeah, he kind of said maybe a little bit of both. Some of it was not familiarity with the new 3-3-5 system from their new D coordinator. Nardo, I think is his last name.
Yeah, Brian Nardo.
Yeah, they run a 3-3-5, and it's something that can be beaten, mostly on the edge, I guess, is where that's most vulnerable. And one of the things he pointed out was they had great defense, except for they kept getting killed by explosive plays, and that's why it prompted me to that question, because kind of the way you beat that, from what I understand. And So yeah, he said some of it was personnel too, because they got a guy it's kind of a rover. That's one of the linebackers that Dallas was just outlining in Kendall Daniels. And he kind of comes up and plays, more of a linebacker. And then they got a will linebacker in Colin Oliver, who's a total stud. He's second on the team in tackles. And he kind of plays on the line. So it sounds like they kind of play a weird hybrid of a 4-3, 3-3-5 at times, although 3-3-5 is their base. He talked about how great their linebackers were in general, with Nick Martin having 140 tackles last year. So that guy's all over the field.
Yeah.
And they fill the gaps really well.
Sure. All right. Well, awesome. I can't wait to listen to that full episode. That's going to be good. So let's, just get into, we're here already. So let's stay here in these Oklahoma State thoughts. One thing that when I started going through and just looking at these guys, the experience, Dallas, that you touched on, this starting offensive line, it's crazy. Like the amount of games they've started, the accolades they've won. Between the 5 of them, they have 172 career starts. Like, it's bonkers.
And he shared that they have 7 or 8 guys total that have over 200 starts.
Yep.
And 6 or 7 of them are redshirt seniors.
Yeah. And 13 sacks allowed last year, which is, just nuts. And you see Ollie Gordon, running the ball for 6.1 yards per carry.
Yep.
Like, woof. That is a good offensive line. I was surprised when I did look at the size. They're not abnormally monstrous, huge. They're big. They have good size, but they're not, 6'6", 350-pound monsters running at you. So I don't know. It's size that we're going to be used to, is what I'm trying to say. Jake, so when you played against Illinois, you played Juice Williams, and who was their running back? They had a good running back that year too.
Yeah, I can't. Gosh, it was it Mendenhall back then?
Yeah. Yep.
Richard.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So what is it like playing, one of these top tier cats in the country?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, I think, with this game. I mean, again, we're coming back, I think, in a pretty good spot. Again, anytime you got a Jimmy Rogers coach team, I'm an advocate for. I think that guy is as hardworking as a guy that gets. He's going to have the guys ready. We know that. We got some good experience with, obviously losing a little bit, but also bringing back Bach and some of them. That the big thing with a team like this, with a playmaker like obviously Ollie Gordon, but then you add in some of those other big name wide receivers, that Brendan Presley's quick, Rashad Owens, big jump guy, is kind of the stuff that you read. Obviously the offensive line, you guys touched that. It's going to be big plays, right? The RPO, some of those things off of Ollie Gordon that, they're going to ISO the heck out of you, zone oriented out of the pistol, some of that type of stuff with Ollie Gordon. And if you can stop the big plays, like those are the things that to not get wide eyed for SCSU, which again, we're a different team now than, in 2012, obviously with the success we've had and the success we've had in big games. So I think, again, with the coaches, with Jimmy, with obviously the rest of the experience we have, Mark and everybody else coming back, I think hopefully that's limited, but that's the big thing to me, is going to be big plays. RPO off of Ollie Gordon is going to be, if we can avoid those mistakes, especially in the first game, I think that's going to be a difference maker.
Yeah. The one guy I'm interested to see, Ollie Gordon's fantastic, but I had to look up this Brendan Presley. 101 receptions, 991 yards, 6 TDs.
It's like Nate Johnson.
Yeah, and he's 5'8", 175, and it looks like they just spam him. Wide receiver screens, they give him the ball in the backfield, little quick outs, things like that, just to get him in the ball in his hands quick, and he picks up 9 yards per catch right there. So kind of a fun little player. I'm interested in that matchup. Who's gonna take him? We don't really have a corner that's built like him in a lot of ways. Dallas and Steffen and Humphrey are all kind of bigger corners. So
Yeah, we're a little bit rangier on the outside.
yeah.
It's interesting you brought him up because that's actually something Justin touched on that he said that he will play on Sundays, guaranteed, despite his size. He said he's that electric, has that much juice. He's convinced that he'll be playing in the NFL.
Darren Sproles, man, it's going to be all over again. You know, those quick guys, and yeah, that's a good example.
Danny Woodhead.
There.
That's interesting that, we called that out earlier, and I think had a little bit of a debate off of last year's team of who ended up playing slot corner. To me, I thought Stallbird was able to flex out and handle that frequently, but I forget who did we say?
Tucker Large, yeah.
So Tucker stepped
He
down.
could be good at that.
Yeah, he might be up to the challenge.
Yeah, he'd be good at that.
Interesting. Yeah. Did your guest express any concerns about Bauman, the quarterback, tossing picks? I mean, he has 60% completion percentage and 14 picks, just 15 TDs last year. So,
yep. Essentially, that was his biggest question mark on offense for the year. His two big question marks were Bauman on offense, and then the big plays on defense that we already touched on pretty well. So again, I think to me with Bauman, you can't really look at the first third of the season because they were rotating. He was new to the system.
Sure.
They shouldn't have been rotating. Honestly, I think Gundy's kid, who everybody absolutely loved, was in the mix. He ended up at Ohio right now, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, there's just a weird situation that just wasn't good for a quarterback in general, regardless of somebody that's already played for 6 years. So, but yes, he was concerned about that, concerned about the consistency, and really made it sound like what I would assume that I don't think that he is who, would beat South Dakota State. I mean, that their season lives and dies on the ground, and they're going to use that to open up things over the top.
Okay. So I looked up this Bauman arrived at Texas Tech the year after Patrick Mahomes left. So yeah, that's he's been in college for a while with a couple different stops. So all right, this 3-3-5 defense. Everyone knows I don't understand why UND plays this 3-3-5 defense or 3-3-4. They just don't have the horses on the D line.
You got to have the athletes, right? That's the big thing on the back end.
Well, you got to have some horses on the D line, and UND does not. These guys do, man. Trot out a defensive end that's 6'7", 275, a nose tackle that's 6'4", 330, and a D end that's 6'2", 265. Woof. So that's some meat that you want on a 3-3 type of defensive line, in my opinion. And then their backers are pretty big too. You mentioned that Kendall Daniels, 6'4", 235.
And the amount I've listened to hours of Oklahoma State podcasts because I'm a loser and I'm really excited for the season and had nothing better to do. That's really nice playing a big team up front here because there's a ton of content out there and stuff to listen to. So I'd encourage you guys to do that. I'll give you some recommendations later. But no, Kendall Daniels is the one. He was maybe this is going to sound really negative, but Justin on the previous pod indicated that maybe the fact that he was so big playing safety, dude is like 6'3", 245, and he's put on some weight in the last year, but he was back playing safety, and I think maybe he gave up some of those plays just because he was playing out of position, when he's the size of a freaking defensive end. So they brought him down to linebacker for the most part, and everybody's really excited about the juice that he brings. He's a really explosive player.
What did you hear in terms of the nose guard, this Justin Kirkland?
He's a giant.
Yeah,
He's
330.
He's huge, basically.
I saw somewhere that he had like a 225 bench press like 50 times.
50 times. Yep.
I know he said 51.
He pointed that out.
51.
No, he said 51.
Oh,
wow.
And then said that his strength is only rated at a 97 on NCAA, and they wanted to petition it that how is that only a 97? And I agree that's off the charts. That's beyond Mason McCormick numbers there.
Yeah, wow. And it's great. I mean, you got to think of that 3-3-5. I mean, obviously you got to be able to move. So a guy like that clog in the middle, but then to your point behind him, it's not as much your base 4-3 where it's gap sound football. At 3-3-5, you got to be able to fly around the field. It's pursuit defense, and so I don't know. That's it's crazy to me that guy is that big and strong. He must be just a good athlete.
Yeah, right. That'll be fun to watch, right? Because Gus, FCS All American, Remington Award winner at the FCS level, against someone like that, with that unique size, right? That we don't always see at this level. So
That's
Former wrestler and Gus, he's probably going to use his leverage, right?
Yep. And honestly, okay, so let's think about the game within the game here. If I'm Gus, and which I'm not Gus, by the way, if I am Gus and I want to play in the NFL and I want some tape, what am I going to want to put on tape? I'm going to want to put on tape me playing this other guy at a Power 4 school that can rep out 2 1/4, 51 times that everybody knows about. Like I want to show out and I want to do my best and put good tape out there. So I'm sure he's well aware and dialed in for that. And I don't know. I'm a fan. I think Gus is up to the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did they say on the back end? There's these corners, the starting corners that are listed, at least 2 interceptions between them, 41 tackles, just not a lot of production. Did they lose? Didn't lose much. Okay.
We did not. And part of it is because we got rushed, but he did not go out of his way to talk about the secondary at all. So I'm not going to put words in it or put not.
I mean, they do bring in a couple of new kids in Landon Fields and Jacoby Oliphant, 3 stars, but I don't imagine they're going to get to see the field. But yeah,
Sure.
I haven't heard anybody really talking about the corners.
Yeah,
so I'm sure they're athletic dudes. They're playing at OSB, right? So
yeah. They ended last season with 13 interceptions as a team, 27 sacks, and 46 quarterback hits. 28.5 points per game, 166 yards per game rushing, and 275 yards per game passing. So again, there's that adjustment piece, right, to playing that 3-3-5 that you talked about. So I'm very curious. I'm gonna have to look at them a little more, watch some of their later season stuff just to see what they were doing. Where they're
at least one outfit called out that Corey Black as an impact player. So
interesting.
They got some talent there for sure.
Sure. Yeah, it's good size. Yep. Okay. Any final thoughts on this team or players that our fans need to know about?
I think a dark horse at running back that we might see is that Sessi Villani. Coach Gundy talked about him a bunch of different times. He's a young kid. It's really shifty, really quick. If we don't see Ollie Gordon at all, he's probably going to get some reps because A.G. Green's out, and so Trent Holland is going to be the primary if that's the case. So yeah, I think that's a name to keep an eye out for.
I don't know if Gundy thought they were going to run the wing T based on the number of running backs they brought in, because seriously, they had 2 like starter caliber guys get hurt, and you've still got Gordon, you've got Sessi Villani. I've heard it a bunch of times. I'm going to go with Villahe, which I don't think is quite right, and then Trent Holland. So I don't know. They believe in all those guys big time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think beyond that, it's knowing that they are going to live and die with the run. And for the Jackrabbits' sake, I hope that they are susceptible to big plays. And that's about it.
I think one guy that's getting a little bit overlooked, not so much by their fans because they talk about it's the Dejon Stribling, the other wide receiver opposite of Rashad Owens, also a stud last year, just a little bit overshadowed by the other guy. So a lot of talent there in their talent spots.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do know, because the Packers have the Oklahoma State kicker on their roster, that they have a new kicker this year.
We did not get to special teams.
Yeah, Logan Ward is. All right. Yeah. Because Alex Hale is currently with the Packers. So
that is good to know.
Yeah.
You know what I want to get to, Matt, and I got to look at your.
What?
Look at well, I want to just talk a little bit more. I don't know when you want to get to just kind of the mentality of the players in preparing for a game like this, because it's exciting and it's a big deal and it's a huge focus, but whether you win or lose doesn't really change it has nothing to do with the goal for the end of the season, right? So it's a really weird position to be in. So I want to maybe talk mentality and kind of hear Jake's take on that too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to comment that when you say any final thoughts. Like to me, it's our experience, especially at that QB1 spot, right? I mean, like that's a mentality and a leadership spot in a game like this that's a game changer for an FCS team. Like to your point, coming in with not a lot to lose. So if you have that voice in the locker room, you have that leadership, that support. I think to me that changes the culture, changes the approach a little bit from our guys to go out there with nothing to lose, but a little confidence too, right? I mean, yeah, they have great defense. They're flying around. They're doing a lot of things, but Mark's ability to be confident now, and after obviously some really successful years, that was his struggle early on in his career, was kind of early season mistakes. And I think if he can come in and kind of lay the groundwork and kind of keep the momentum going on the offensive side, Jimmy's going to have the boys ready on defense. I mean, we know their strength from the OSU side is going to be obviously a Heisman favorite and some really good wide receivers. And that pursuit defense that Jimmy teaches, I think, is going to be, really fun to watch, really, with a good team like this. But to me, the biggest thing, to answer Dallas's question, is just that experience and that mindset that, the mental take that Mark's going to bring to it with that experience. And some of the other guys too, not just Mark, but I mean, that's a big, big difference maker. I think as a team having that experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one thing, in this game that I really, I just want to come out of it healthy. We got the crap beat out of us in Iowa City 2 years ago, and it ended up not hurting our chances to win the Natty, right? But, we lost Bransel that game, Tucker that game. A couple other guys definitely got banged up, and it was kind of lingered for the rest of the year. So you don't want to play scared or anything like that. But man, I don't think Oklahoma State brings the same type of physicality as Iowa. But I just do not want to have a bunch of guys dinged up in this game, which doesn't matter necessarily for the SCS playoffs. It does if you win, but outside of that, it doesn't. So
no, that's a really good point. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, we've talked a lot about how great they are, and Dallas is right. They kind of had two different seasons last year in that the second part of the season they played better, but that's kind of true with most teams. So it's not to say that they couldn't have the same thing this year. And Central Arkansas, of all teams, gave them a run for their money in the first game of the year last year. So there's no reason our players shouldn't go out there with full confidence, thinking that they can't beat them. And it's not like they won't. I mean, obviously, Jimmy's going to have the guys ready to play. They're going to believe they can win, but like our fans that are concerned that it's going to get ran up against us, I don't see that happening.
Yep. Well, let's also touch on the fact though that Gundy, while honestly the amount of content I've listened to, there's not a lot of FCS respect in their podcasts and a lot of their commentators. Not Justin that I talked to. Honestly, he's fantastic. There's a few others that there is. I mean, they assume they're gonna jump out by 30 points, put the subs in, and just kind of coast, and that they're playing the lower level team, and that's what they're gonna see. But you listen to Gundy, if you've seen any of this. I mean, he called South Dakota State a Power 4 team. Is that what he actually believes? I have no idea, but at least publicly, he's making it very clear that they're not going to overlook the Jackrabbits. And did you guys happen to catch any of him on McAfee?
Yeah.
Yeah, really good show. Honestly, I like Gundy. The more that I watch him, I really like that dude. I think he's a good coach. But yeah, he talking to McAfee made a point that blanking on Matt Rule was on, and he declared that they would never play another Dakota school, and yeah, that was which is odd because they're still on the schedule with us a couple of times, but he basically just said that they're a Power 4 team. We're treating them like that. Like if we could book these a year out, we would not be playing these guys. I think was his quote roughly. So taking the game very seriously.
So the Matt Rule stuff, my goodness. This is a sidebar, maybe for a side conversation.
No, let it fly.
Let it fly, Matt.
I read this. I read this somewhere else, but I read this on Bisonville of all places. So credibility, who knows?
What is wrong with you?
But
gross.
The kid from Fargo, that standout defensive end from Cheyenne High School in Fargo, they're not letting him play his senior year. They threw enough NIL money at him and said, "You will not play this season." and you're going to enroll early down here in January. Isn't that crazy? Like,
that's the world we're living in, man.
I know. That's awful.
Whoa.
That's awful. So I don't know. If that's true, that is awful. Like,
yeah, but then you end up with someone that's an all-star in high school and at the next level maybe has a great line, and then you throw 5 interceptions in a pregame game, in a preseason game. Maybe you're not as good as they thought you were. Who knows?
Oh, dude, I'm starting to feel sorry for Trey Lance.
I am too.
Southern
'cause I think
Minnesota
he's a good
kid.
help.
I'm sure. I mean, honestly, I'm sure he's a
got the bag
fantastic
though.
guy.
He's fine.
He's Marshall, Minnesota's second best athlete. Right?
Second best athlete ever out of Marshall, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
if you're new to the show, who's the best athlete, Dallas?
I'm gonna go with Reese Winkleman.
Reese Winkleman's the best athlete. Yep.
Clearly.
So hopefully Allison's watching still.
Yep.
All right. Jake, what's going on with JFPA? That's one of the reasons we're excited to have you join us this year. You're doing a lot of good work with them. What's up with JFPA right now?
Yeah, so obviously JFPA, Jackrabbit Former Players Association, really a neat group that obviously we got started a handful of years ago, really as an opportunity just to support the team. I mean, it was another avenue to kind of just share the love back to Coach Stig at the time and the team and the players. Obviously, you get a good pocket of history of former players that have taken advantage of that opportunity just to get together, and the camaraderie and the time to spend together, kind of the brotherhood that we want to talk about. And so I think that's just amazing or awesome how it's really grown to the point of not only the success on the field brings that to the Frisco time, and the amount of guys that come back and support, the amount of guys that come back even in Brookings and travel with tailgating and everything. So just a lot of good stuff with the JFPA. I think just with that camaraderie and it's blown up. I mean, we went from like 100 memberships to now over 600 so memberships, if not more, in the last couple of years. So really good engagement. And then beyond that, I think we look at the opportunity to do really more for the team and the players. So most recently, a big initiative would be what we're calling the JFPA Fund. So just an opportunity to kind of raise funds to support any guys that might need it. Recently, we had a really, really tragic loss in the JFPA family, or the Jackrabbit family, if you may, and a guy named Matt Anderson. He was a senior actually when I was a freshman. Lived with my brother. Great guy, played tight end. Actually last year at our JFPA golf tournament, I golfed with him. So just a year ago, rode around in a cart with him for 4 hours. And then a tragic accident, passed away a couple weeks ago. So obviously nothing's going to bring that back, leaves a wife and 4 kids, but our JFPA was able to raise over $50,000 to give back to Matt's family in that regard. So just an exciting thing. We're really going to kind of push that. And I think the message is, a little bit kind of, I don't want to say awkward or odd, but I mean, it's that idea that, hey, guys, you got this family here, this JFPA family, and something would happen to you, we're going to take care of your family. And I think that's kind of a neat thing that the group, JFPA leadership, Ryan McKnight and Cam Jones, and a lot of those guys have really done. So that's probably the most important initiative right now with the JFPA that we're really leaning on and doing some really good things. And then obviously staying close to the team, being able to help them meals throughout the summer, meals throughout the year, different initiatives with the university, new locker rooms and different things like that we can help with, that we've always been able to give money back. But again, the biggest thing I'd say with the JFPA is just that family dynamic that it's turned into. It's been a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you do want to know a little bit more about Matt Anderson, Danger 41, search on our page or Kyle's page. Our former colleague here, Kyle Sheehan, did a former player feature with Matt a few years ago, and you can look for it on our YouTube, Facebook, whatever, Kyle's page, like I said, and it's so good. Just a tremendous human being. Had some Air Force friends actually reach out afterwards and say, "Did you know this guy?" And I said, "Yeah, we did an interview. I actually met Matt in college as well." And so, man, just a a great guy. I mean, tremendous loss to the world. So yeah. So thanks, Jake, for that update.
Absolutely.
About what's going on with JFPA, though, and excited to kind of keep hearing that, I guess, throughout the year, what you guys are doing and how the broader Jackrabbit community can help too. So
absolutely.
And this year, it sounds like you're expanding the tailgate a little bit to include the parent tailgate. Is that right?
Yeah. So definitely partnered with the parent tailgate. So we have a pretty large area, a large space. Now it's just finding the line of the rules to the size of building we can build out there. That's always a battle. Bunch of former football players think they can go as big as we can, so we're gonna try. That should be really exciting. So right there in kind of the same spot, but partnering up with the parents. And I think again, just a good experience. And again, it's amazing the type of guys that you just run into randomly. I mean, guys that haven't been back for 15 years, and they're just like, we've seen what's happening. We've seen the tailgate. We've seen the kind of experience that's happening in Brookings now. And they're like, we wanted to come check it out, flying up from Texas, from California, from all over the country. So it's more than just the game. I think at the time, obviously you're excited for the game and to support the Jacks where they're at currently, but that experience before the game and after the game with the guys, I think has just been second to none. So hopefully this new big tailgate adds to that too.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than, and I can say as Jake, somebody older than you, getting back and getting to know some of the guys that are a generation or two younger than you, and getting to get, just connect and share some of the same stories, and it's so fun. I actually, as you were talking, Jake, I had not renewed mine yet leading up to the season, so I did it while you were talking.
Nice.
So I know we got a lot of former players that listen to this. This matters, and you need to be a part of this. It's a big deal. The whole just playing, it's a brotherhood. I can say from what I've learned and what I understand, this is something that North Dakota State was in the past was light years ahead of us in terms of membership, money raised, had a huge part to do with their success and their giant run that they had. So we all need to get on board. Text your buddies, do it now, just get it done. Membership start at what? $100. It's $100, $250, $500, something like that. Yep, get in there, just do it.
Yeah, no, and I'd comment on that too. It's I think to that point, beyond just what we're able to give back, you hate to always compare to those guys, got a ton of respect for them, but what NDSU did with this was really kind of an opportunity for us to say, all right, we can do the same. Obviously, we've proven that on the football field now, and we're proving it, I think, behind the scenes with the JFPA and how we're able to support. And I think the cool thing is as you get more people in, kind of like Dallas said, you're able to meet people from different generations. I was meeting guys that their daughter plays with my sister-in-law at college basketball, and his guy played back in the early 80s and stuff like that. So just fun to kind of connect, like make these random connections. But then we've expanded it beyond to kind of these different groups. So we have a network and development professional group. We have a kind of a marketing and kind of connection type group if you're into that. So we're trying to be able to also support, like, hey, you're in the market to find another job, or you're just graduating, you're graduating grad school, something like that. Like this group can help you with some of those things. Kind of be another platform for guys to just be kind of that brotherhood and successful life. So really, really good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Pat wants to talk a little ball here. So any serious injuries for the Jackson fall camp? Pat, if we knew, we wouldn't say it right here because the Oklahoma State guys now know about us. Information can be passed pretty easily. But this current coaching staff getting injury information out, it's like escaping Alcatraz or something like that. It's very difficult. This team is very tight-lipped. This coaching staff is very tight-lipped. Last year we heard rumors of guys in walking boots all season long. Could never confirm it, right? And so-and-so's daughter was in chemistry class with this guy, and she saw him in a cast. That's kind of the best we could do last year on the injury front. So, that's what we can answer.
Sure, but in fairness, though, also, I mean, we can state that I haven't heard anything, not a hint.
No.
I mean, before we've heard rumors from people that have seen people or whatever, which you don't want to spread that because that's not good, but I haven't heard anything. So as far as I'm concerned, as far as we're aware, they are too deep as we discussed on the offensive defensive previews. If you've not listened to those, go back and watch them now or when you're done with this. But no, I haven't heard anything.
I just read Ron Loney's comment here. Chad, you need reading glasses. You're squinting far too much.
Honestly, Chad. So here's the deal, Chad. I've always had this thought that I wanted to start taking screen grabs. I want to start taking screen grabs and make shirts of you just like angrily squinting. No, that's the opposite. Usually you're just
what
like,
I gotta do to read. I've got a bad eye. It's
you're the elder statesman of the group here. It's okay.
No good.
Gosh, that's great.
I need 2 new corneas. It's
Yeah.
$30,000 I don't have, so
Yeah.
I can see okay. I just have to squint a lot.
Yeah. Hey, and in the same vein as tailgating that Jake talked about, we got to share an update. Chad, you are the president of book club. Do you want to share?
Is that true?
Yeah, I think so.
I never voted. I never voted in this.
Yeah.
Unofficially, yes.
Yeah.
You're the president of the book club, yes.
Got a new tent on order because the slow boat from China wasn't going to bring me parts fast enough. We're all going to be there.
Same spot,
setting up with the hair raisers. So come 4 to 6 weeks, whatever that actually is, plus waiting time, they said. We might have another tent. So we might have 3 tents set up side by side plus Ben's. So we've got it set up so we're gonna have plenty of space come them cold games, and we're gonna make it nice and toasty in there and have really. I wouldn't make a great referee. Just ask Brendan next podcast, okay?
Oh gosh. Hey, all right, before we get into our predictions here, we have to thank Northwestern Mutual for sponsoring this segment, our prediction segment here for the A team. So if you need some investment, life insurance, whatever it may be, some financial planning, saving up for your kids' college retirement, get a hold of the professionals at Northwestern Mutual, and they will set you up for what you need. I've shared about my experience the last 2 weeks. Had a life insurance policy that was way out of date. Was predated my kids, and I had my retirement scattered all across the country, and I needed to get them all together. And Northwestern Mutual helped me figure it out. Jackrabbit former player Quentin Hicks reached out to me, set me up with my financial planner, Mike Tuck, and we got the ball rolling there. Chris Schenkel, who's been instrumental in getting the Alex's Lemonade Stand going with the FCS Nation radio show. He's with Northwestern Mutual as well. Great guy. So one of those 3 should be able to help you out, get you the product that you need. I know there's other Jackrabbits. Brian Williams is one of them that's doing Northwestern Mutual as well, and some other folks. So thank you, Northwestern Mutual, for sponsoring our special feature shows as well as this segment in the A team. So,
ladies and gentlemen, the rule of thumb is 10 times your annual income. That's what you need in life insurance.
Oh, great.
All right. Matt,
Jake, look at this. You're on one show and you're already getting.
Wow.
Hold on. What is this?
All over Brookings. I can get all over the city with that thing anytime.
I'm sorry.
I don't know about
Jake,
you, Matt, but I had
this
to
is
buy
not
my Kubota.
No,
Yeah,
Jake,
no,
you're
I'm
fired.
in.
This is unacceptable.
I can drive that all over town. Don't worry.
I was
That's
all
some kind of lease to
for,
own deal, I think.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
I'm in.
That's awesome.
especially on a Club 32. I thought the connection, at least with my dad, like this is ridiculous. I expect better treatment than this. Hold on, before we get into predictions, there's a couple things maybe we didn't touch on is just matchups in general. If you guys don't mind, want to touch on that and kind of get everybody's thoughts there of just where, to me, what South Dakota State needs to do to win the game and maybe what they could. We'll use the word exploit. That probably isn't right, but what they need to do because okay, what do we know? We know that they have a tremendous run game. We know that maybe they're a little susceptible on defense. We know they've got a quarterback that probably isn't going to pick us apart unless something magical has happened coming into a 7th year in college. Again, he's not a bad player. I'm in no way saying that. I just don't think he's who is going to beat us as strong as our secondary is. Our safeties and our corners are fantastic, and I think as good as a lot of Power 4 teams. So to me, you get into matchups typically, and I'm curious to get Jake's thoughts on this. A lot of times what you see in these FCS, FBS games are, you see the FCS team come out hot, and then the initial emotion wears out because a lot of teams come in and this is their Super Bowl, by God, which is something that I think that we can't do and doesn't need to happen. That this doesn't need to be a big emotional game, but that wears off, and then you've got I've said this before, I think on the pod, that the starters, for the most part, when you've got a good FBS team and a good FCS team, your starters are maybe 90% as good or something to make up a number. But then as you start to go down the depth chart, then you go, then the 82 scholarships versus the 53 start to kick in, and then you get problems. And then the next piece that is typically huge is special teams, because the guys, and this was honestly, Jake, at that Illinois game, the biggest thing when you looked at special teams, they had the same dude cloned who was 6'2", 215, and ran a 4.5, and they had like 30 of those guys, and it was the same guy, and we did not have that, right? And that's the difference in a lot of those teams, and I don't know that we're going to see that because of the depth that SDSU has at linebacker, at safety, and even at to some extent at wide receiver. We have just ridiculous guys lined up ready to play at those positions. So anyway, I'm curious, maybe Jake, start with you. What are your thoughts on that? And then where do you think the big maybe matchups that we need to try to exploit are?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think, again, from my experience, it's exactly what it is. You come out of the tunnel at a Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's wide-eyed. You got all the energy in the world, adrenaline's going like crazy, and you don't get tired. It's that experience. But to your point, the third, fourth quarter, they're still rotating guys in, and we don't have the same depth. Now, do I think we're a much different program than 2010? Absolutely. To your point, I think the amount of skill players that we have and the caliber of guys that we have is just phenomenal. Again, we mentioned the D-line the last couple of years, the way they could just rotate people in was just amazing. And that's a tough position, right? That up in the trenches up front, yeah, your skill guys are great. You're going to have the Ollie Gordons. You're going to have, these Brennan Presley, Rashad Owens types guys that can make plays. But on the front line with the D-line and the O-line is where I think that depth really comes into play. So I think we're a different team, and it'll be a good thing to see how that culture of winning the last couple of years really changes the 2-3 guys behind him too, right? Because the expectations for those guys to work hard and be just as qualified, just as skilled, to be just as strong in the weight room, to work just as hard in practice as the top guys. That's what winning does. It sets that expectation. So I'm hoping that our depth is really going to be strong. But, to really kind of think of matchups, like I said, I think it's going to be big plays. If we can really manage and take advantage of that 3-3-5 and just the way that maybe you can pick some holes in that with some of our skill guys, that's a matchup that I think, again, our end stopping big plays on the defense, but then, taking advantage of those, finding some open space. I think that's a matchup that I'm really excited about.
Same thought. It's kind of the opposite of what you would normally expect, to where it's normally like, all right, limit big plays and, no big special teams plays. Like, I'm not really not worried about big special teams plays. And then as far as stopping big plays, it's actually the opposite, where we can't allow a bunch of 10-minute drives. Yeah. Like that shit can't happen. Like that's what we just cannot allow. And here's, what I think I've said this to a bunch of people. I don't know that I ever tweeted it. Here's where, as a South Dakota State fan, you should maybe feel good about this, is we were designed, and the reason why where we are, as much as I hate giving them credit, is we had to be built to beat North Dakota State. And this team that we're going to play, and I hope this isn't bulletin board material, but they are North Dakota State. They're the same offensive line because, and I'll probably say this exact thing when I'm on that other pod on Tuesday. This offensive line that they have is phenomenal. It's probably the same as all those North Dakota State lines that we face because they put, 3 dudes in the NFL every year for like a decade, and that's not an exaggeration. And they've got a better running back core and probably a quarterback that isn't as good because you look, Easton Stick is still in the damn NFL, Carson Wentz, whatever. So it's roughly the same style of offense, and that's what this team was built to survive and to have to beat. So that actually makes me really encouraged for this game.
Yeah. When we talk about the big plays and limiting those, I just think about I think it was Dyshawn that dropped an interception against Iowa, right? And that could have changed the game. I think Dyshawn had a free lane to a touchdown potentially in that one. Could be misremembering that one. But if Bowman's going to throw us the ball, we have to be ready to catch it. You know, on the back end, we have to take advantage of those type of plays because, what you're talking about, Dallas, like that grind down. You know, if you drop that interception, what's to say they don't come back and get a first down on the next play and rattle off, a couple more after that.
Yep.
It's in that 90-degree heat. So that's something that's on my mind.
Yeah, take advantage, and then I'd be excited with you talk about getting vertical in the middle of the field. One of those 3 young tight ends that we discussed that, we picked 3 different tight ends, Jake, to be the breakout player of the year because that's how good we think that room is. We just don't know which one it's going to be. But one of those guys honestly needs to go off for 110 and maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns.
And that's hopefully an advantage us, right? Because there's no tape on these 3 tight ends that we're running out there. 0. And, they'd have to go back a couple of years to the spring season, maybe, when we were running out these bunch tight end formations and stuff. I don't know. It's going to be something new.
Love to run 13 personnel. So,
Yeah.
So
those might be the holes that we can pick apart a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have anything that profound to say other than if you look at what their coach was pointing out, what we do well is what we need to continue to do well, and that's play gap sound defense and, not get off schedule on offense. We need to get ahead early and convert on third downs if the opportunity is there, if we don't get there before third down. So, I mean, I think those are literally, as dumb as it sounds, the key to the game for us.
Yeah. All right, let's do some predictions. Jake, do you want to go first as the newest guy?
Brutal.
There you go.
Or do you want to go last? It's
no,
up to
I'll
you.
go first. It's fine.
All right. So offensively, who's going to be our player of the game?
I mean, I think again with the ability to have that experience, that leadership, Mark being able to make some plays. We just touched on the tight end. It's going to be Mark. I think he's going to be such a difference maker in this game.
All right. Can't go wrong with that. Reigning Walter Payton Award winner.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Dallas, offensive.
GFW. we're going to get deep. My second pick was going to be Progene. But let's go GFW. They don't know what's coming. He's going to get deep, get loose for 2.
All right. Chad.
Gus Miller.
Okay. Ooh,
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Good one. I was actually thinking that right after I said Mark.
Yeah.
And my backup's going to be, well, you could throw it at a dartboard in the tight end room, but I'm going to go with Gormley this time.
So, it's funny because they probably, if they're listening, think it's ridiculous that we're looking at all 3 of them the same. But from everything that we've seen, heard, read, it could be any of those guys. There's a lot of talent there.
Yeah, I'm going with Gormley. That's who I was going to pick. So
yes,
I don't need a backup.
Sorry to steal it from you with my second.
All right. Defensively, Chad, where are you going to go?
I mean, how do you not pick Mr. AP Bach on Twitter?
Okay.
He's the easy choice for me.
Okay.
Keep that guy from running more than about 4 yards per carry. We'll be doing good.
Okay. Dallas?
Tucker Large, going to get it done in the pass game and the run game.
Okay. Jake?
Pick six, Tucker Large.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, you are in my brain. I was going to say that. Darn it.
Yeah, I'm going secondary. That Tucker Large, Kilry. I think that group to limit big plays, kind of manage the ability to, again, if we can gaps on defense, pursuit defense, Jimmy Rogers style, stop Ollie Gordon, and then they're going to have to figure something out, RPOs, and then that's where that secondary is going to really come in.
Mm-hmm. Jake, just so you know, these two, Dallas and Chad, will eviscerate you if you pick a position group and not a single player.
Oh,
just for
Tucker
the
Large.
record.
There we go.
Yeah, he kind of made that as his first pick. I wasn't going to say anything. It's first day on the job, so
Yeah, that's
we
right.
won't dock your pay quite yet.
All right. I am going to go with Dallas Beanham. He's going to move one step closer to your dad, Dallas, on the career interception mark. So
just one? Why not two?
I'm going to say one. And it's going to be a long return, but not a touchdown. Going to set us up in good field position.
Love it.
All right. We have Francel. We have the law firm, Graham Spalding, Kobe Herder. We had Angel Johnson on the offensive side of the ball, Adam Bach. The coach must be the MVP from Ron Lowney. Thanks, Ron. Seth Meyer.
Listener.
DePriest is going to be the rock in the middle, keeping the linebackers free. All right.
Choice. I like that too.
Yeah, we love DePriest. So
Jake, we should touch base before all these. Make sure one of us picks a D lineman every time.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right? Way to represent you guys, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you to our sponsors, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, Jackrabbit Former Players Association. Love having you guys here. And then Northwestern Mutual. These are the show sponsors for this one this year. So we'll be back every Sunday night with you. Hopefully we're talking about a victory next week. But if not, everyone's going to have a lot of fun down in Stillwater. Travel safely if you're traveling down there. And Chad, what's the rest of the schedule this week for you guys? For B team?
Was it Wednesday, I believe, right? For
Wednesday?
B team, and Thursday for the Scared Money Don't Make Money, and then I don't know if Brendan's going to go till 4 a.m. with Zach after this one, or what's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
I thought it was. I thought it was Tuesday, Thursday, dude. Isn't it?
Is it Tuesday, Thursday? I don't know.
We'll figure it out. We'll tweet it out. Don't worry.
I don't pay attention till it matters. Ask my wife. I'm really bad about that.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks Jake for joining us. And with that, go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Jake. And he left.
No, he left. Thank you.
Darn it.
We're